Informative, educational, objective, inclusive, comprehensive. This is Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Progress Report. My name is Ivan Khanna, my lovely co-host Gleneva Hodge, and we have with us today someone that's of quality and would like to assure you that he is doing a great job in his role. I was trying to do some puns there. I don't think it worked out.
You're doing okay.
I was doing okay.
Yeah,
I was doing okay. I'm punning on the fact that we have the Quality Assurance Manager. That's correct. Right, Mr.
Quality
Joseph?
Assurance and Compliance Manager.
Ooh, big part. Quality Assurance and Compliance Manager within the Ministry of Infrastructure, Communication, Utilities, Housing and Tourism, because it's MICU, with specific interest oversight with the Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport, all ports.
Let's just say aviation and maritime.
Aviation and maritime, not ports. Aviation and maritime.
Yeah, let's just say that. Yeah,
All right, so let me get that back. Let me roll that back because I can guarantee
You're
you.
going to start that all over again?
No, not the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot.
I can
Well,
guarantee you that 95% of our listening audience didn't know that role existed or what it does. So it's gonna be fun today. Do you know what he does?
No, I'm excited to find out. But
Yeah.
Ivan, I think you missed something.
What did I miss?
I know that his job title, is a mouthful, but we didn't introduce and give.
I called him
his
Mr.
name.
Just I was getting to that.
Oh,
I was getting to that part.
Okay.
I was getting to that part. Because over the last couple episodes, I mean, you had your stint when you had all the women in here and people that you remember Kim and Mrs. Bradley and
Right.
everybody from. I've had my classmates now. So recently we just had Mr. Damian Harrigan, Bonnie.
Yes.
Came to Valley Primary School with him.
Yes.
And I came to Valley Primary School, same class, same graduating class, same high school class, everything with this young fella here. And I was just remarking to him that I can't believe it. We like that odd generation.
You can't believe how long it's been?
Yeah, it's been long. We've known each other a very long time.
Very long. Very long.
A very long time. A very, very long time. We used to go through the bush, leave school to end up
My
Georgia.
mother might watch this.
But listen here. we know, but hey, let's talk the truth before we get into things. We've come a long way.
Okay.
It's been Mr. Kendall Richardson, that's this person that I'm speaking about. We have Shamari Kentish, we have Dormel Franklin. Well, Dormel went to school, but we meet up in high school.
Yeah.
Allison, we had Shaka, a bunch of us.
This sounds like y'all need to have
A reunion. Okay,
Yes.
glad that you're gone there. Because here's where I'm going with this. Here's where I'm going with all this stuff now. In the back of my head, at no point growing up, I saw either of us in the fields that we were in.
Yeah. That's true.
Kendall liked planes, I like planes. I know he wanted to fly. You wanted to fly.
At some point.
At some point, yeah. My mother talked me out of it. I don't know if it's the same thing for you.
I realized I'm a coward.
Well, that's gonna
Once
work.
I started flight school.
Once-
I
you didn't
realized
get
it's
the
not for me.
roles.
It's not for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. But he has a very long career in aviation, if I might say so. Because prior to his role, and you can get into this now, he was an air traffic controller. He spent some time around aircrafts otherwise, and he just came up to the ranks. And now he's in the role of Quality Assurance and Compliance Manager.
Yeah.
With responsibility for maritime and aviation.
And aviation, correct.
Tell us what does that mean?
Ah,
I gave you all of that. 40 years coming up. We 40. Yeah, we 40.
yeah. Almost.
Almost there.
I almost.
Almost there.
Yeah, almost.
Almost there. We almost there.
Almost.
Coming up now.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this. I didn't see this. You didn't see this. So how did you end up there?
So that's a good question. I obviously I had a passion for aviation growing up
Mhm.
from a little boy, from as far as I can remember. And like you said, we always thought that we would end up pilots.
Yeah.
But you know, at that age, aviation, flying, the only thing you know is being a pilot.
Yeah.
So I would have left Angola. I joined the U.S. Navy,
Uh-huh.
did a few years, got out and went to school. Well, during my stint in the Navy, I actually was working with F-18s. So
Okay.
that kind of built the passion a bit,
Mm-hmm.
enhanced it. So I got out and went to school at in Florida, Broward College,
Mhm.
and then transitioned to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical Institute. So then I studied air traffic control there.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Broward, I was doing flight school
Mm-hmm.
and had a very interesting conversation with a mentor of mine that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that piloting is not for everybody.
Okay.
So he gave me a pep talk and told me to look into ATC.
Uh-huh.
So I would have started pursuing my air traffic control career in Florida, and opportunity came. And you might remember this. The
Yes.
opportunity came for me to have a job in Angola doing
Yeah.
ATC, and I would have had this conversation with you at the
Yeah.
time. And I was successful with the opportunity, thank God, and went to Trinidad, did some studying for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, did ATC for a few years, and another opportunity came to be the quality manager at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I think it was around 2016 or so.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody could remember, the airport was going through a
Rough
rough
patch.
patch. Let's call it a rough patch.
A rough patch.
So it was a good opportunity to learn a lot.
Uh-huh.
Patch was already rough,
Yeah.
so there's nothing else to do but smooth it out. So it was
I
a
like
good
how you did that,
opportunity
yeah.
to learn. So I took that opportunity, learned as much as I could, and eventually transitioned into where I am now with aviation and maritime under my responsibilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Specifically, what do you look at in your role?
Well, as you know, my crew is a very dynamic ministry. There's a lot going on. And within that ministry, the transportation sector plays a very important role. There is a level of oversight that we have to provide for not specifically the aircraft in Angola, but the airport itself. And from the seaport aspect, it's more of the vessels. So we have oversight on the vessels and the airport. I do believe that very soon that oversight is going to encompass the seaports, but at the moment it is not fully established in that direction. So one of the key things that we do as far as the aviation side is we approve flight permits. So all the foreign registered aircraft would have to apply to come to Angola. We go through that process, vet all the documentation.
What
Yeah.
documentation?
It's a long list of documentation.
Yeah, I just don't want people to think that you just get in a farm and say, oh, where he coming from, he could come.
All right, fair enough. So
You don't have to give us everything.
the entire process is, let's say you are U.S. registered aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
book,
Ivan.
Yeah, Ivan. All right. Yeah, Ivan booked a celebrity. Her name happened to be Gleniva.
Uh-huh.
She wants to come to Angola to
Yeah,
stay.
you know, she actually have a really cool show, Gleniva. She is a celebrity. She has this really, really engaging show that people think that this guy named Ivan
Let me guess,
is...
it's called Progress Report.
It's called
Wow.
Progress Report. Groundbreaking. But go ahead.
Yeah, so Gleniva Books wants to come to Angola
Uh-huh.
for a couple of days. So she contacts your airline. Your airline then get in contact with Lloyd's Aviation
Right.
as the ground handler. Lloyd's Aviation will give them the necessary information that they need. They submit a package to us,
Okay.
which includes your registration of the airplane, airworthiness, insurance, technical documents that we then review. And based on the information that is within that, we either approve or deny the flight. There's other technicalities too, as well as depends on where the airplane's coming from, where it's going, that sort of stuff. So,
And they can't really come from Russia right now and that type of thing.
nah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, things don't.
Okay. So I actually have a question relating to that.
Mhm.
Tourism and luxury tourism is kind of like where we are moving, and especially when you're speaking about private jets.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, you have to be loaded when you consider private jets. So one day, I don't know when,
So-
but one day, hopefully, you know, I can do so. I'm not at that point as yet.
Your loyal subjects agree.
But you know, sometimes, especially when you're talking about these celebrities, they tend to move on women fancy.
Mhm.
How quick is that process?
It's a good question. We have turned around permits. Sometimes the normal process is 48 hours.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of airline owners will agree that's not always possible.
Yes.
Based on the example that you just described. So we have turned around permits before within a hour, 2 hour process.
Okay.
It just depends on what's going on at the time, the urgency, what's needed, So if an airline if they want to come in basically immediately, they could just make the case to Lloyd's Aviation, they contact us, we'll go ahead and process.
But isn't there, so there's NetJets, there's all sorts of
Thousands of them.
thousands of them. So when you give an approval, do you give approval to the company or per aircraft?
Usually it's per aircraft for that particular flight.
Okay.
There are other permits that, for example, American Airlines, Silver,
Mhm.
maybe I should say American Eagle,
Mhm.
Silver. They would have what we call a seasonal permit. So they would have rights to fly in for a 6-month period.
Okay.
And they renew that every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Okay. Can persons get a year-long permit?
The legislation doesn't speak to that at the moment.
We always touching on legislation on this show.
But I think even what that shows
Uh-huh.
is that things doesn't just happen
Yeah.
haphazardly.
Yeah.
There's something that guides the way things are done and
Yeah,
operated.
Absolutely.
And it's not up to you. It's up to the legislation. It's up to acts, regulations.
Correct.
So Kendall Richardson is not saying that Mike Tyson cannot come here because you're a Holyfield fan. You don't have a personal vendetta in how permits are issued.
Absolutely not. I go even further.
Uh-huh.
We don't even know who's on the airplane.
Thank you. That's what I'm getting to. I just try to
We
find
have
out.
no idea who's on the airplane.
Good. I try to find a little way to get it right. I don't want a person to think that I'm feeding you the answers, but I want people to understand that, like, there's if a celebrity shows up here tomorrow, you don't know that person is coming.
No.
You get an aircraft registration type, airworthiness certificate.
Yes.
You get their insurance to look over. You make sure they're licensed, and you make an approval.
Yeah. Our only concern is the safety of that aircraft and where it's coming from, where it's going, that sort of stuff. We're not concerned with who's on it.
Why the safety of the aircraft? Is it for the passengers' interest, or is it for the airport's interest?
Both, to be honest. The safety is paramount. It's always
Uh-huh.
our number one concern when dealing with aviation.
Okay.
You have to ensure, number one, that the traveling public is safe and that you are operating an aircraft that is airworthy and
Okay.
does have a safe record.
What does airworthiness speak to?
Airworthiness speaks to the aircraft being in a condition where it can get from point A to point B safely. So, documents, maintenance,
Records.
pilot competency, all those stuff speak to airworthiness.
It just doesn't happen.
No, it really doesn't. But I kind of wanted to go back a little bit in terms of being able to, you say compliance. So compliance to me speaks to due diligence and being able to verify that the documents are legitimate.
Correct.
How does that work within that short turnaround period?
Well, to be quite honest with you, most of the aircraft are coming from the United States.
Okay.
Now, our friends in the US are resourceful enough
Mhm.
to have these websites that you can actually go to and plug in information to ensure that this company is registered and they are who they say they are. So those things do exist. Even down to pilot records, you can go on and type in a person's name and actually see if their record is there,
And of
license
course,
is valid.
These are sites that you have specific access rights to.
Sites are public
They're public.
sites. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I wanted to get an idea and to ensure, and especially for our listening and viewing audience, that even when special requests come in
Just save
for
care state.
under the 48-hour threshold that you perform, that it still goes through the same process
Correct.
and that corners aren't cut.
The same due diligence goes into it. Absolutely.
I would imagine though that the 48 hours isn't just about the time to look into these things. It's about parking space at the airport, understanding your movements for the day.
Yes, that would be for Lloyd's Aviation and the airport operators.
Okay.
That would give them enough time to plan and understand
Right.
what's happening. Absolutely. The 48 hours, let's put it like this. If it is, let's say, September 25th,
Uh-huh.
we can turn it around in 2 or 3 hours.
Mm.
December 23rd, probably not. So
Why?
it's very busy in December, as you know. So
No, people,
why?
people,
And
people would not think so. They think that no, I'm not being facetious. They
No, I
think
understand.
that like, okay, these planes just come. I don't think people. I want to know if everybody has paid attention to what has happened to Angola in terms of jet traffic over the last couple of years. Like it's increased, it died down for a little bit for obvious reason. But I live in George Hill. I remember, I called you in Jabari and there's like, what happened at the airport is a party. Like every 2 minutes, a jet was landing.
if I could put it in perspective for you, mid-December, we could see as much as 20 or 30 of those permits a day in mid-December.
That's a
Coming in.
Yeah,
They're not necessarily coming in for that day,
yeah.
but coming into your inbox about 20 or 30 of them a day in mid-December. That's very possible.
I see the planes coming in, so I know. So let me ask you a question. Quality.
Hmm.
Like Glenn just touched on compliance. Compliance is making sure they have what they have. They need. Okay. From a quality side, now, what does the role entail for quality when you're speaking about these aircraft coming in? Do you have anything to do with the airport side and operations? Or it's just what? What does the quality speak to?
I try to stay away from the operational side of it
Okay.
because it's hard to audit if you're part of the operation.
So you serve as an audit function.
I serve as an auditor for the airport. Yes. So all aspects of the airport, every department, security, operations, ATC, fire, I am tasked with the responsibility of auditing those operations and ensuring that they are compliant with international standards.
Okay. So that means you report to the regulators.
Yes.
See, we getting something now. So that's the
A
quality
few other
side.
people in between.
A few other people in between.
Yeah,
Okay.
a few other people in between.
The minister for sure, because he asks a lot of questions.
The permanent secretary, the
minister.
minister when necessary, and as well as to the CEO of ASPO.
Okay.
Good. I'm glad you went there with ASPA because I kind of wanted to get an idea as to what is the relationship
Mhm.
between ASPA
Mhm.
and your position.
That is an awesome question. And the reason why I say that is because coming from ASPA and doing the kind of the exact same thing at ASPA and then moving to the ministry, what we did was found a middle ground between the ministry and ASPA.
Mhm.
So since I am used to doing it, and this job, this current position is the same level of oversight just from a different seat, what we did is decided, and we actually have a signed agreement that we would continue the same relationship. So I remain the auditor for the airport, although I'm not sitting in the seat at the airport. So I'm still the internal auditor, but I'm kind of on the outside, if it makes sense.
Elizabeth.
It's still a government statutory body.
Right. So ASPA's
So- Wait,
Mhm.
sorry.
go ahead.
So my understanding of this was that you are independent in ASPA. When I say independent, there was degrees of separation
Yes, absolutely.
with your role.
Yes.
It's just like a CFO at a bank, perhaps. A CFO might not be the one. The internal auditor at a bank. The internal auditor would be
Yes.
the direct liaison when the auditors come in to do the official thing, but making sure everything day-to-day operations is done to
So if
standard.
you're looking at the
Okay.
organizational chart, there's a
A little
section on the side
yeah,
there
yeah,
where
off
I'm
to the
at.
side.
and some of the lines are dotted, and some of
Okay.
them are solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want an outside branch.
Yes, kind of. Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
But okay, so I wanted to go back again just a little bit to the relationship between
Mhm.
ASPA and yourself.
Mhm.
So in your position, you serve as auditor
Yes.
for airport, ASPA,
Fire.
Maiku, all of those operations over at the Clayton J. Lloyd International.
Mhm.
What then, because in your role, you approve flights, what then is ASPA's role in the operation of the airport?
Well, I suppose mandate is to manage the operations. So here's the facility. This
Here's
is what
the
the
people.
facility is supposed to do. Manage it and make sure it flows. That's ASPA's role.
So,
So-
ASPA's manager, you are auditor.
Oversight. Yeah.
Oversight. Ensure that ASPA is doing what they should be
Ensure that
doing.
they're managing it effectively and to international standards.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, you touched on something. What makes Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport?
That's a very simple question. Every flight that arrives at Anguilla is coming from an international country.
I think you need to say that again.
Every single flight, unless it's coming from Scrub or Dog Island or
Being on an airport out there.
every flight that comes into Anguilla is coming from an international country.
Even our local carriers from St. Martin.
Correct. The same way we look at Blowing Point, that boat operation from Blowing Point to Marigot is an international voyage. We sometimes look at St. Martin like it's just going to the valley, but it's not.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I walked on a boat, I used to tell people, this is the most interesting journey you're going to take. I say you're going to touch three different nationalities. You land on the Dutch side, you pass to the French side, and when you get to Angola, it's British.
Yep.
We have a very unique
Situation.
little situation
It's
here.
more unique now with Brexit. But,
That's a totally different story. We ain't touching that. We ain't touching that at all. We're not touching that at all.
But, it's interesting because I think sometimes I turn on YouTube and different types of flights and
Uh-huh.
international flights. And one interesting fact, and I don't know if it's a fact, they put it out there as a fact, that the shortest international flight is between Princess Juliana International Airport and Clayton J. Lloyd International Airport.
Yeah. Was it less than 8 minutes?
By in the 414 Cessna 6.
Yeah. So they had I saw that and I was like, oh,
It's quicker than I could get home.
Yeah, like easily. Like it's cool actually. It's like
Yes.
very cool. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to fly from St. Martin, Angola,
I think I have.
but it's actually really
Yeah.
nice flight.
It is.
I know I have,
Uh-huh.
but it may have been Anguilla to St. Martin.
Okay.
But that was a very, very, very long time ago.
You should do it again. We're gonna make a move.
Okay.
We're gonna make a move. We have to sample all these products that we talk about here in the show.
I agree.
Yeah, because like I think it's really cool. But now that you talk about quality assurance, and we've been speaking about just for the most part the international flights coming in. But what does your role speak to for the local carriers now that we've just kind of segued into?
I don't have oversight on the local carriers from
Mhm.
my position, but what we do encourage is a reporting culture. So
Okay.
we would like to have the relationship with the local carriers where if they see something at the airport, they can feel free to report that information, and we could work together to get certain things cleared up, sorted out, make the situation more safe than what it is.
But they have to report to somebody.
They report to the regulator, Air Safety Support International, ASSI.
ASSI.
Is that the ASSI?
Yes.
I keep
That's
hearing
the
about?
SC you keep
Okay.
hearing about.
Okay.
It's not a person.
That's good to know.
They speak about it as if though it's a person.
That's good to know. So they're regulated differently.
Yeah, but it's key to know that they are regulated by the same organization
That
that
you
regulates the
report.
airport.
Right.
Correct. So
And you report to
it's
them.
the same.
So
oversight.
again, that's what I wanted
Okay,
to
so you
check
have
on
those-
separation again.
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, from the maritime side, I noticed you didn't say seaports. You said specifically maritime. Now,
Yeah.
I have first-hand knowledge because I came by to take some pictures. That there's a maritime audit happening now.
Yeah, there's a maritime audit happening it's actually on the Anguilla Maritime Administration.
Or there's an Anguilla Maritime Administration.
Correct. Yes.
We get all
So-
sorts of exclusive on this show
so
because
that-
I didn't know that exists.
Anguilla Maritime Administration is the regulatory body. Again, in between the same relationship that I would have with ASSI.
Mm-hmm.
The Anguilla Maritime Administration has between Anguilla and the MCA, which is the Maritime Coast Guard Agency that regulates Anguilla
Well,
Maritime.
I thought all they do is do that course so you could become a captain. I'm not.
It's a little bit more than that. So the Maritime Coast Guard Agency in the UK
Uh-huh.
regulates maritime in Anguilla.
Regulates how? What do they do?
The same way ASSI regulates.
Permits.
Well, they have oversight, complete oversight on our shipping registry.
Okay.
They are the ones responsible for every endorsement that we have. For example, the boatmaster licenses and stuff like that. They are the ones that have that oversight on that.
They were the ones responsible for putting the channel markers in Sandy Ground as well.
Well, we were the ones that did that.
I know you
we
did,
did it
but-
as part of the regulations.
Right, that's what I was
So,
trying to get.
so it was a regulatory requirement.
Correct.
So they are concerned about safety at sea and within ports.
Safety at sea within the ports and security. Yes.
Security is a big thing that keeps coming up because you mentioned that you have oversight for security at the airport too. Since 9/11, that has been a big thing. What separates security for us from, say, TSA? We have flights going to the US now. Are they guided by the same standards?
I would say absolutely nothing. It's the same thing. It's the same standards at this point because the last 3 or 4 security audits that we had, the security auditor was actually accompanied by TSA. So TSA is now coming here on a regular basis and conducting those security audits with our auditor ASSI.
Wow.
And that is because we have these international flights that go straight to, at the time was going to the US Virgin Islands
Yeah.
and Puerto Rico, and now we have Miami, which obviously is a bigger deal than
Yeah.
what we have seen before.
So do those standards extend? So it's not to say that the security operations are standard at the airport should be different to Blowing Point.
It shouldn't. But
Okay.
Blowing Point is a very
Interesting.
interesting one. The infrastructure is part of the biggest challenge of Blowing Point at the moment.
Right.
The new facility, as you're aware, will
Yeah.
mitigate against that. The new
Right.
facility is
Massive.
state of the art.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
we
been there.
need to
Go
do
back.
another.
Yeah, we have to go back.
Yeah. You
So-
gotta go back soon.
Yeah, don't remind me.
If you don't go back soon, there's gonna be people using it.
It's gonna be people.
No, for real. I went down there yesterday and they were sweeping the floors.
Love
Yeah,
it.
it's
So because we did promise to
So
do
yeah, when you want to do
another, we'll talk about that after.
that? We'll take that offline.
But I going back into more the maritime aspects of it.
Mhm.
I know you said MCA,
MCA, Maritime and Coast Guard Agency.
okay, and they are responsible for oversight of our shipping registry, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the shipping registry, what that looks like?
And can you make it clear that it has nothing to do with the transshipment that we lost? You just have to clear stuff up.
I don't know anything about the trench.
Just-
I don't know anything about the
Good,
trench.
good.
So the shipping registry, and I ask because we do
Yeah.
again several hats. We do some registration of ships, so I wanted to put out there if you can
it's-
what that looks like.
The shipping registry in Angola is I think it's a category 2 registry. So we are restricted in how big of vessels we can register. So I don't want to call no figures because I don't know them off the top of my head, but we basically register vessels of a certain size.
Okay.
So those
Under the-
vessels
under
are
the Angola
under
flag?
Angola.
Flag.
Okay.
Angola is under the UK, which is one of the most prestigious registries in the world. So it's a real honor to have that registry and we be able to actually register vessels under our flag.
We get money for that.
It costs to register your vessel. Yes.
So why aren't we selling more registrations?
We could only sell what's available.
What you mean? What's available? Oh, they have to come to us.
Yes.
You can't advertise it like come register here with us.
I'm not sure.
No, the reason
I'm not sure.
the reason
Here's why I
So,
asked.
that's a good question, but I'm not sure.
But here's why I
well,
asked.
we advertise the fact that we do ship registry from
That's-
a private sector standpoint.
That's why I asked.
So-
And now, even when the premier said that they're looking to do more advertising and marketing of our financial services
Uh-huh.
through tourism. So that's where I was going with that, because we talk about diversifying the economy, but that could be one way to bring some money in the coffers.
But there's a level of responsibility that comes with registering vessels as well.
Such as?
We gotta keep this in mind, because you register a vessel and the vessel takes off and it goes to Trinidad and Tobago, and the registration is up. You have to send somebody to Trinidad and Tobago to inspect this vessel. That's just
Yes.
using a small example.
But wouldn't that be at a cost to the person that know
Once we could get our cost structures
In place,
through
yes.
legislation.
Oh, we gone to that word again. I was trying to get there. Legislation. Okay. I'll touch back on that. Go ahead, Benny.
Okay. So I kind of want, okay, we're doubling back a little bit. Because you say we have a category two in terms of our ship registry.
Yes.
This is not like hurricane, so not Cat 5,
No,
that
no,
kind
no,
of
no,
stuff.
no. No, the category just specifies the size vessels that you can
that
register.
you can register. Is there any possibility for us to again expand
You go to a Cat 1.
and go? Okay, so Cat 1 would
Cat
be
1 would be the bigger one, yes.
the biggest one. Because I note you see a lot of those cruise ship vessels, and a lot of them carry a Bahamas flag.
Yeah. Bahamas.
Panama, I
Panama,
think. Yes. Is there, again, I know Ivan was saying, expansion, and there remains room for expansion in terms of generating revenue outside of the typical.
Right.
And yes, we got to the cost structure and what that would look like. Are there any other barriers that may exist to
The biggest barrier would be resources.
Okay.
Resources is a
human or financial?
both,
See, I want to lean in for this.
quite honest.
I want to lean in for this.
I know where you're going.
No, because there's no growth without people. On the most basic level, we talk about Angola growing its population. We talk about wanting more efficiencies. Yes, there can be efficiencies with smaller groups of people, but I keep getting, and I was going to get to this earlier. I'm happy that you said resources. How many persons in your department?
Which department? Because
How many persons?
Are you a one-man show?
yes.
He didn't want to say.
We've had a couple of
We've
one
had
man or one woman
shows. Operating
Country.
efficiently.
Yes.
Keeping the country running, doing what they're supposed to do. But then on the backside of that, we want growth, we want more money, we want less tax, we want a number of things. We want more efficiencies. But some people are saying that we don't want more people.
Especially they say that government is too big.
If they say government is too big.
I want more people in my department.
Okay.
I even forgot to tell you this. So whatever, that's a magic hole.
I want more people.
Good. Once you say the camera, it goes straight. It rings to the premier's phone, bling bling, bling, and he gets that message. I'm not joking. Fun fact: people usually ask for money, but you're asking for people.
I want people.
You want people. You don't want. You get people, and you can make.
People will bring money.
Here's the reality. Even if you look at aviation as a sector
Mhm.
outside of the airport, who works in aviation?
Outside of the airport, I mean, don't work on the airport.
Yeah.
Outside of security too.
Yeah, the security work at the airport.
Okay. You. Even the fire work at the airport.
Me.
Yeah.
At some point, we have to build that capacity. I'm not going to be around here forever. At some point, we have to build that capacity.
I'm actually glad you said that in terms of, because when you were speaking earlier about your journey and how you got there, one of the things that I'm always interested in is when you have these niche areas, the opportunities that exist for going into the schools and
Correct.
speaking to our students
Correct.
and letting them know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
I'm in school and I'm picking
That's-
subjects.
I don't want to slow you down, distract you. You don't know what you don't know was just as groundbreaking as dollars in for me. Just go ahead and put that out there. She has these little nuggets that she just throws out there and expect that I'm gonna bypass them. No, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
No, and that is the reality. If I'm a student in school and I don't know that this exists,
Yes, correct.
and I go and I pick a bunch of random subjects, but I don't know it's there, so I don't have that guidance to be able to say, okay, I need to focus in this area
Area,
because I'd
yes.
like to go, and this exists, or this is something that's interesting.
It goes right back to what we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where we were all interested in aviation, but we all wanted to be pilots because
Yeah.
that's all we knew.
That's how we are.
That's all we knew. And to be honest with you, this aviation sector is about to grow.
Yep.
Seriously.
So, with that in mind,
Segue.
what opportunities exist? And if they don't, do you see room for those opportunities that exist for you to speak to students?
Well, one area in particular that is very dynamic in aviation is security. Aviation security is always evolving. I myself, the airport manager, the security team at the airport, we always have to keep well versed with what's going on in the regulations with airport security. It changes constantly. Have you been on the airport lately?
Yeah, let me talk to you about that. They have you want to touch it on me?
No.
They have a bunch of speed bumps. Then they have the ones you can't. If you can't drive standard, please don't go through the airport.
Just go fast.
Just go fast.
Don't slow down.
Don't slow down
Because you may
because
roll back.
if you roll back, your tires pop.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
Again, the dynamic sector called aviation security.
Uh-huh.
So, in one of the most recent updates to the aviation regulations, which specifically speaks to security, they could have created an area that is a 30-meter buffer that unauthorized vehicles should not enter. Now, if you look at our terminal building, it's not
Yeah.
practical.
They'd have to stay by the road.
Exactly, it's not practical. So, in order to meet the standard, we had to put some mitigations in place. So, what is the purpose of the 30-foot buffer? If you look at
Blast
history,
radius.
yeah, exactly, terrorist attack, blast radius. You don't want an unidentified car driving up and boom, half your terminal is gone. So, in order to mitigate, we put in these speed bumps. Purpose of the speed bumps is to slow the traffic, so you're not able to go full speed ahead and go through the gate.
And just in case there's something in there, it blows up before.
Shake it up enough.
Shake it up enough. Because you do shake up.
They now put a arm
Uh-huh. I saw
right in
that
front of the
today.
taxi stand. So I'm not sure if they started yet.
It's just up.
Yeah. So eventually you need a pass.
Uh-huh.
And you have to swipe the pass in order to get in front of the terminal. So only authorized vehicles, such as taxis, will be able to traverse that area.
I have a question. Stop right there. Taxis coming in, high profile guests. Swipe his pass didn't work. What happened?
Why would this pass not work? I have passes, they work all the time.
Power goes off.
It's generators.
I was there at the airport, power went off and the gate couldn't open.
Which gate couldn't open?
I was on the air side though.
No.
Yeah, it happened to me. That's why I'm asking that.
Well,
They had to open it with their
there's also,
their hand.
matter of fact, there's also a manual switch in the gate guardhouse that is directly across from
she
the
pressed it
gate.
and it didn't work. So I'm asking if there's a manual override for the one day because it's not manned. That's what I'm saying. They actually know it's from a compliance standpoint, they're gonna be issued a pass that they have to renew.
Mm.
That's gonna be pegged to their taxi license. So you see where we're going with the compliance because now you have records on who's coming and what's not, right? That's compliance, right?
I guess.
You guess?
Yes.
Well, it's quality assurance.
Yes. Yes.
Because who can't pass, they ain't supposed to pass because they
Yes,
don't have a pass.
absolutely.
That's what it's
So
for.
it's because it's a control area.
Right. It's a control area. So what I'm saying now, it's not manned. So it's not somebody they're checking.
Mm.
So there's a level of integrity in the system that's going to be required for the taxi drivers and everybody else to
Mhm.
meet. If this fails, what's in place if this fails?
There's multiple things. First of all, there's stuff called a cell phone. You
Okay.
need to call somebody.
Okay, good.
Second of all, there's security officers that do landside patrols.
Thank you very
always,
much for that.
Always walking around.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so there are things in place.
And there's an override for it. They can press a button and lift it up.
Not there.
Not
They can't press a button and lift it up. Somebody else on the other side can.
But remember, latest I tell Haji don't press the button.
I'm
just
not
one.
really that.
So,
Just to make light of the matter. So there are because people
No, there are mechanisms in place.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
good, and that's what I wanted to get to because a lot of people seeing what's going on and they don't know, so they're forming their own opinions. Like how we gonna get through there? Because for years we just pass on you hook up your family, security guy actually move your car. That's what we're trying to avoid.
And what's key here is that the personal vehicles would have to go in the parking lot and drop your passengers off. You would have saw the yellow post that they put down. It made no parking areas now, so you can stop right there and drop off your passengers or pick up passengers and traverse the area.
So when will some sort of communications about this go out? Because Gleneva is big on this. If she goes to the airport and she no longer could drive under the cantilever thing, she's gonna ask a question.
I'll make sure it goes out.
Their number, Evan,
Yeah.
we gonna put you on pause just for a second.
Uh-huh.
Because in that,
Like about your lashes.
actually no, in that a number of things stood out for me. I may probably get in trouble for one, so I'm gonna leave that one for last.
Okay.
So the first one, listening to all of this, in relatively safe Anguilla, what it speaks to, and again, Ivan, I think we spoke about this on a previous episode, in terms of having to comply with international regulations and adapt them to our context, even when it seems quote unquote ridiculous.
Okay.
To the average person who's going, it's like, who you know coming with a bomb out here? Yes?
I absolutely agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
The issue is, and it may be my military background, but having a direct flight from Miami to Anguilla
Changes the dynamic.
changes the entire dynamic.
Outside of that, the level of people that we visit our shows changes the dynamic. You don't know how much persons have to apply for permits because they walk with their own securities and are carrying guns and the like.
Terrorists will use a place like this as a soft target.
Right.
Because they feel like an attack on American Eagle or American Airlines is an attack on America. You never know.
Right. No, I wanted to kind of get that out there because, again, for the average person,
Yeah.
I utilize the airport quite often.
Yeah.
We can just set that one.
Put that one back there. Put that one back
Because I can come back to that one.
there.
What I want is
Yeah, you
You can
you're
get-
right.
So that's one. That's one. Two, you spoke about the taxes, and I know that there's been, again, I grew up in a family of taxis, of chauffeurs, and he says that I call his name all the time. My dad is a chauffeur for a
What's your dad's
taxi
name?
company.
I know him.
What's your dad's name?
And I'm calling his name again.
Glenn?
But no, has there, and I know there's been a lot of talk in terms of properly categorizing and separating whether you're a taxi or a chauffeur, because people ask what's the difference between a taxi and a chauffeur.
It's not the bow tie.
It's a good one.
And I'll tell you, because in terms of, at least from my understanding of it, like my dad, he can't go and sit and wait his turn for somebody to come out. He has to be specifically hired outside of. So someone would have contacted the company that he's employed by. He's an employee of a company.
Mhm.
And so someone would have contacted that company and said, oh, I have X amounts of people coming in. I would like a pick up and transfer from the airport to X, Y, and Z Villa or wherever.
Okay.
And so his employer will issue him with a schedule for the day because all he is driver.
Mhm.
He's issued with a schedule. You are expected to do pickups for this. He is not paid. The company is paid.
Right.
As opposed to a taxi. And again, I come from there's a thin line, and people see it because, again, a family of taxi drivers and chauffeurs.
That's actually a pretty good explanation of it.
Yeah, I come because, again, a number of my uncles, they were taxis, and I think one was president of the Taxi Association. I don't quite remember, but
I think so.
but then you do have the taxis, and so a lot of times people
Get it crossed, mixed.
get it crossed as to who is what is who, how does that go? How do you, and is this a role or your role in terms of looking at that
It will be in terms of access now.
categorization? And that is what I was getting at, because you can hire a driver, and how does that driver ensure that they have a pass to get?
Yeah. Well, to be clear, it's not really my role.
Okay.
But I was with the airport authority, the ASPA, when they were doing consultations with the taxi drivers and chauffeur services. I can assure you that everybody was there, and they, as far as the airport looks at it, they treat them basically the same. You are here to pick up persons and you transport them to villa, hotel, townhouse, guest house, whatever. The airport treats them basically the same.
Okay.
So it's not from the issue that you're speaking about is transportation safety board issue.
So,
Okay.
It's
so
a taxi
here's
association issue.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
so here's the thing. You must know. I reached out to the taxi association, 2 times now to be on the show. I finally got the new president, and he said, "Well, I'm gonna have to bring a team because." And he started talking about rates and all kind of things. I said, "Sure, let's discuss that on the show because I can't run through the rates and the issues that they have." So that's
I look forward to
we
that show.
definitely
You know,
look forward to that
it's a very good conversation though.
because it has to happen too.
Yeah, that's happening.
the next thing that came to mind
Uh-huh.
when looking
This
at
is the one down here that you put down here.
no, I picked that up yet. you gonna wait for that one. No, but the next thing that came to mind again. You remember that one I put down there? I go to the airport quite often.
Uh-huh.
And knowing, and I know we didn't touch this, but we have to touch this.
Mhm.
There's an airport master plan. I've seen an airport master plan. The airport master plan calls for the airport to be constructed in what is now
Freedom Park.
the parking lot.
The parking lot.
It's Freedom Park.
No.
Yeah.
The airport is to be constructed in what is now the parking lot.
Correct.
Freedom Park got some concrete. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
No, but I'm asking that because I see all of these things being put in
Mhm.
now when maybe you can tell us. We're expecting to move forward on the terminal.
Yes.
How soon?
So
It's a whole new conversation.
Yes.
So
I bury that one far.
all right. So the terminal, the new terminal, at the moment we are still scoping the area requirements for the terminal. I do think that's going to be completed before the end of this month.
So November.
So
you need to make that clear. So
the scope
Yeah.
of what is required in the terminal in terms of how much space do you get, how much space do you
Right.
get, how many
Mhm.
ticket counters we need, how many gates we need,
good.
how many I don't know how much.
Security surveyor
Yeah,
belts,
how
those
many- yeah.
things.
So all of that is
what
going to
customs
be
need immigration.
is currently being finalized.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
That should be finalized by the end of this month.
So you would have met with all the stakeholders.
We would have met with all the stakeholders in September, a few months ago, September. So from that, we had a draft.
Mhm.
The draft was shared in certain areas, was shared with certain stakeholders that we anticipated may have need additional stuff, or maybe the scoping did not come back the way they would have
Mhm.
expected it. So we would have had second meetings and consultations with them.
Mhm.
And at this point, if we're looking at timelines, we're expected to get that terminal building out to tender by next summer.
Okay.
And
Right,
tender,
so-
you mean tender to bill.
Yes. Out
Good.
to procurement for construction. So bid documents summer next year.
Good.
So big document. So you're talking about beginning construction sometime after that.
Yes. Possibly 2 or 3 months after that.
Okay.
Okay.
Depending on how procurement goes, of course.
But with all this going on, you have to move the terminal,
Mhm.
which means you have to move the parking lot. There's a word being tossed out there. It's called enabling works.
Yes.
These enabling works, because so you know what I did, and I told you what I did. So I performed a little social exercise. What I did is I posted the press
Uh-huh.
release
I remember when you
separately from the picture. So I started the album
Yeah.
and it said airport redevelopment, and I was posted the album, but the thing wasn't posted the same time with it. And folks were on Facebook like, "What's going on?"
I need a
I
description.
need a description. I'm like, "Oh, they're actually reading is not as bad as I thought." But it came after when it was announced that this stuff wasn't happening. So it kind of like said, okay, they're not necessarily listening. Some are reading, some are listening, but we have to keep the full package together. In this time, the minister spoke about number of changes. You want to catalog the changes for these enabling works? Because I know part would be the new parking lot first.
Mm.
Because like you said, the terminal footprint is supposed to take up that space where the
Correct.
parking lot is
Correct.
now a little further over.
Correct. So the enabler works entails a temporary car park
Mm-hmm.
which will be built. See where the fire station parking lot is? It's directly north of that. So in that space where the big tree is, let's not get to the tree yet, but where the big tree is.
Ooh.
I wonder if the tree was where you put down.
No. You're getting a little closer, but not quite.
Yeah, so the enabling with the parking lot is the car park, the temporary car park is part of it. Second part of it is to expand the apron a bit. So where the current cargo facility is, if you look,
Customs.
yes, if you look directly to the east of that,
The
where
rooftop
the
slope.
ramp is here and then it slopes all the way down. We're gonna turn that entire area into ramp space. And then the third part of the enabling works is the Southside taxiway. So we're gonna be building a taxiway where the current taxiway is on the south side. We're gonna extend that and join it to the runway on both sides, right in front of Alpha and right in front of Bravo, right in front of the taxiways. Sorry.
So Alpha is the first taxiway in.
Alpha will be the taxiway, the concrete taxiway that most of the private jets goes on.
Yep.
Bravo will be the one that's directly in front of the tower.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So the taxiway is gonna cross. It's gonna be what's the word? Perpendicular.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be parallel with the runway and then
Okay.
join at Alpha and Bravo. So there'll be like a U-like
Okay.
portion, so you can come in and come back out.
So basically, a private jet, you have 40 permits approved for this day. They all come in between 2:00 and 3:30.
Wow, sounds like a lot of circling.
So it's like a lot of circling, right? They're on the ground, but they're taxiing back now. So you had an MD-80 coming. It's taxiing
Wow.
back down to Lloyd's facility. He can go on the taxiway to allow some.
Maybe not an MD-80, but
Yeah. Not an MD.
definitely.
Okay, let's say a
It can be used.
citation.
It can be used to relieve the air traffic controller, relieve some pressure.
That's
and
what I was
allow
trying to
the
get.
runway to be clear for another.
For another
airplane to land.
airplane.
There's a second purpose of that Southside taxiway, the cargo facility, cargo building, customs warehouse. I know we call it a lot of different things.
Mhm.
Is going to be relocated to that side
Okay.
because the idea is to relieve some of the congestion from that side of the
Mm.
airport. Rather than having cargo and passengers there, we could put the cargo facility on the south side and allow you to.
That's actually, I'm happy to hear that because I've seen folks drive through the airport to get to the thing where they could literally come down Cannonball Road.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're now saying to me again,
Mhm.
I'm an average user and I go to the airport facility quite often.
Average? I thought you had a private jet on the way and stuff.
Wish. I go to the cargo area quite often.
Okay. Not the private jet area, the cargo
No,
area.
the cargo area, just because. Well, I ain't getting into that.
Okay.
So you're moving to the south side.
Little hop, long road.
So I gotta go down Churchill, wrong, and back up.
Unfortunately.
That's not unfortunate. I like that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's why I like that. I always thought that building being on that side was a problem. Because here's what. It doesn't, security is on the air side, security is on the land side. But you usually have customs in that area. And the risk that you talk about, there was just a little gate thing at times.
Correct.
Run through there and you're air side.
That's how it used to be. Yeah.
So I had my concerns about it.
There's also another positive aspect of this where the cargo facility, the intent is to build a security feature into it. So therefore, the gate on that south side can be used for the hangar personnel, so the engineers that work on the airplanes on the hangar. They can then enter the airport from that side, exit on that side. So unless they have a real need to come on the other side, whether it's to service an airplane or anything like that, they don't necessarily have to see the other side of the airport. So the idea is to relieve congestion on that side.
So from my little training,
I think you had some extensive training.
But, okay, before you go there, you see, I like how you flipped.
Yeah, because he had one. That's why.
So
You got one?
yeah,
So,
I go back on the 18th
I've had reason to see one of those, and I know.
She's had a reason to see what it does.
And I know it. You spoke about it just now when you said, the engineers, they can come in one way. And I know that on that ID, you have zones
Yes.
where you are allowed, where personnel is allowed
Yeah.
to go. would that also factor into that? So if you are able to move it on that side, then those personnel will have their IDs can limit them to that as that space.
Not necessarily, because once you're inside there, you're inside there. The zones are specifically for persons that have unrestricted access and person that has access to controlled areas,
Okay.
and persons that have only access to land side. So, for example, I'm not sure if this is the direction they're going to take, but if they are going to take this direction, the taxi drivers will be given a pass that gives them control to landside areas and maybe controlled access. This one is red, so it gives me access to everywhere.
Okay. Okay. So the one that I saw was red. So okay.
So and then you would have a blue one. The pilots would have a blue,
Yeah.
just to designate that they're pilots. So it's different colors.
So let me ask you a question. What you mentioned there. Access and stuff. We know about the trainings and things that you have to go through. Will the taxi drivers now have any training because they have this
Now
pass?
that's the question. So I'm not sure what direction the airport is going to take. So they can take the direction to give them a landside pass, or they can just issue them a card that will give them access to just drive in, and that's it. So I'm not sure what direction they're going to take, to be quite honest.
Okay. I mean, this is probably a technical question, but you know, I will believe you know. That's managed through where the registration of these cards, because they know
Security.
Security.
Yeah, security.
And would you know from a quality assurance standpoint who has access when, if there's something you need to investigate? Well, this person came through the gate at that time.
Absolutely.
They can provide that.
Absolutely. It's managed through a system where you can just go on and see who went through what doors at what time and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So now we're going.
Pull that.
Take
All
it.
right.
I
You got
know,
all of it.
We got all of. You see, I waited until we are almost out of time to pick this up.
You got all of it. Nothing
See what
else.
this is.
and I know, Ivan, you know, we have been, and this may be directed elsewhere. But again, you speak about auditing and having that function over all aspects of the airport, including fire. And fire is dual functionality.
Be careful. They're my favorite people here. Be careful.
So mine too. And that's all I can say on that. So,
And I ain't saying nothing.
still right across them. They're dual functionality.
Yes.
They are responsible for aerodrome, and they have the aerodrome side, and then they have the domestic side. And for resource purposes, they share a space. I'm thinking access, because I do know where they exit and enter through when they're leaving. But I also know that there's provision for them to utilize another gate. Is that something that we can see? Because I'm thinking with all those new measures that are in place for security purposes, that it has the potential to hamper the domestic aspect of fire.
So I think I'll bust your bubble really, really easy, really, really quick.
That's go ahead.
You should just bring this up a long time ago. I'm actually working on a document with the airport to submit, hopefully tomorrow, to have that gate in front of fire open and usable for them. So
I know
previously it was
someone who would be very happy to hear that.
previously it was a manpower issue,
Mhm.
and the manpower issue was compounded with the requirements of American Airlines. So I don't know if you ever been at the airport when American Airlines is on the ground. American Airlines requires a lot of attention, a lot of human resources.
Yes.
A
You
lot.
you see them.
Yes.
Mhm.
So the idea is to change some of the security protocols at the airport to relieve some of that human resource.
Okay.
Then that human resource can then be redeployed to other areas, including that gate.
So why not just get more officers?
That sounds very simple, but
Budgetary constraints?
not just budget, but
Okay.
it's security is one of those areas that you really need serious persons.
I agree.
And in the past, and it may not be the best conversation, but in the past we found ourselves with personnel that resign.
Didn't meet the full requirements.
Some of them are even having issues with passing the required exams and stuff like that. So you would have also noticed that ASPA would have took the initiative and hired a private security company. So even that, the conversation about expanding that contract is being happening as well. So
But okay. Wouldn't we run into the same issues with ASPA hiring this company?
yes and no, but the reality is that the liability is on you. You have a contract with
Them,
me saying
not
that
me, them.
correct that you will supply X amount of officers for these times, and based on what we have been seeing with the company, there hasn't been an issue supplying X or Y or Z or whatever number they need to supply. So it's more of a
That one there deep, I don't want to touch nothing else
Yeah,
on that
it's-
because now I have questions about procedure and protocol and stuff
So-
because I know the trainings and stuff that we had to go through. But I tend to, are they air side and land side? Or are they just land side?
no, they're both.
Yeah,
They're both. I haven't.
Those officers are trained by security personnel. So the same security personnel that train ASPA security personnel, they train those officers.
And they report to
Yes.
you, the auditor, you report to the regulator.
Well, they don't report to me. They report to security management. I have oversight on everything that's going on.
And I have noticed in recent times those landside checks in the parking lots.
I just want them to dress
Yes.
different. That's all.
That's
Oh,
They're security
what
officers.
they have on their uniform?
A cargo pants and a thing. I don't like it. Let
You
me
talking
post
about-
Alright,
that.
you
that's
talking about the same
that's
thing.
his
Come on,
opinion.
come
Yeah,
on.
we talking about the same. I just think it looks very militant, not warming for a tourism product. Because partner passed me the day in the third
All
street.
right, fair enough.
I just felt a little.
When have you seen a warm and fuzzy TSA agent? Just
Sometimes.
ask.
But they look the part. I don't like the cargo pants.
To be quite honest, I don't always have the product eyes on.
Yeah,
So
but I can't turn those out.
Yeah, I mostly have on the compliance.
Yeah.
So
So literally,
Yeah.
welcoming destination. Somebody come to you in military boots,
looks like a
cargo
military
pants, have on. It just felt cold.
that's fair enough.
Yeah. So I just want them to dress a little
That's
differently.
fair enough.
And on
I'm not touching that though. That's fair.
We
And
ain't
I-
touching nothing.
okay, yeah, but on that note,
On that note,
I'll let you wrap up because
let me wrap
I said I was saving the thing that I picked up for the last, so
Uh-huh.
I did that.
you did it. All right, man. This has been another excellent, absolutely amazing episode of Progress Report. We learned a lot today.
We left a lot on the table,
We left a lot on the table. We
Which
hardly
means-
touched maritime.
which means
Will you be back?
there's always an open invitation.
Anytime.
Ah, see, good. And he had concerns. You know, he was scared to come on the camera. Just saying that. I can say what I want about it. We go way back. But this has been great, man. I learned a lot. I think our listening audience learned a lot. I think the traveling public would feel even more safer knowing that there's a lot of processes oversight.
Yes.
I think what you didn't mention, and I know it's a passion of yours, and I'm going to put this out there. And you can't stop me from putting this out there because I know I'm older than you. The only person older than us is Lisa Ray, because she born in January. And I born in February, so I'm the second oldest.
Just show Lisa Ray on the
I just gonna show her. I'm gonna tell her about it all the time. So I'm gonna put this out there. I know one of your passions and your deep concerns is that you don't want the airport to end back up in the state that it was.
Absolutely not.
So I know you take your job seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the day Americans stop coming here because our airport gets shut down, you might have to leave.
All of us gonna have to resign.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join us for the next episode of Progress Report. Gleniva, who's the star and host of this show, she has an excellent guest lineup for you. You don't want to miss it. Reach out to us. Let us know your suggestions for guests. Let us know what you want, ask. Anything you're trying to find out from how government operates, what's happening. Because this is Progress Report, where you get updates and conversations from the Government Information Service. Thanks for listening.